Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to the middle of July 2025. It is the 14th of July. Welcome to the program and Alhamdulillah. The weather does seem to be improving, so I do hope and pray that I'm not speaking too soon, but that freezing chill seems to be leaving us and not a moment too soon. Welcome to the program. Lots coming your way. Let's kick off right away, seeing that our first guest has already connected up. And he, of course, is Professor Seepe. He's a political analyst. And we are going to be looking at President Ramaphosa's launching of the judicial inquiry as police commissioner. Has been placed on leave on over very explosive allegations. And of course, this is the formation of, as I've indicated, a judicial commission of inquiry into allegations of corruption and political interference in South Africa's policing authorities. In addition, of course, Police Minister Senzo Mkhunu has been placed on leave with immediate effect. A very good morning to you, Professor Sipho, and let's unpack this latest drama in South Africa.
Well, I think you're correct to say it's the drama, and it's also taking us to what some people call the crossroads, because the entire justice criminal system is on trial. And one must understand the gravity of the allegations that were made by Lieutenant General Mukonazi, the provincial commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal. And what he pointed out is that the entire arms of government are affected, that there are a number of people who are in the pockets of crime syndicates and drug lords. And this includes the police, it includes correctional services, it includes prosecution services, it also includes the judiciary. And of course, you'll always know that there'll always be business people. So when you have these allegations that also point out to and implicate the minister, these are very serious. So South Africans expected the president to act swiftly. He may have taken his time because of the gravity of the issues, but because of also of the decision that he had to make. And the two decisions, there were two considerations that were uppermost in his mind. One is him speaking as a head of state, and also the consideration of the political ramifications that affect him. So one can somehow be forgiving that instead of coming back quickly into the country and taking quick response, he sought to consult with those who are implicated, but also to look at who of the people in the country could best investigate these allegations. So I want to put it quite frankly, because there's been a sense of disappointment by many parties, especially opposition parties, around the notion of the establishment of commission of inquiry, because they have said there have been a lot of commissions of inquiry which had wasted a lot of money and led nowhere. But it was the EFF's response that was most insightful, in the sense that they were pointed out where the problem is. They said it is not the mechanism that is a problem, but it is those who are supposed to implement the recommendations that are a problem. So you can come up with the best commission and it can come up with the best results, but if those who are given the responsibility are not going to act, then that becomes a waste of time. So South Africans greeted or somehow received the news of another judicial commission of inquiry with a sense of despair and skepticism. So we need to understand that, because it was the very same President Ramaphosa who, when he received the report from the Zonal Commission, he went out there and indicated that all the recommendations will be implemented. But as we know, that as far as that is concerned, there has not been much that has been done. Instead, we've seen the ANC somehow acting as a, an arbiter in terms of whether those recommendations should actually stand. And when you have a party that takes that position, then it means you should understand that the president, who always looks and wants the backing of the ANC, will not implement those. So it was that concern that people had. But the other issue that people expected, many expected that the president will fire the minister and they will probably fire certain people. But even there, one had to be very careful as a president that politically, the minister of police or the minister who has gone on leave of absence, Senzo Mkhulu, himself is a great supporter of the president. But Mkonazi had said that he is linked, and this is what he has seen through a web of communications and financial transactions, that he is somehow linked to people who are under criminal investigation. So you cannot have a minister who is supposed to provide guidance and oversight being embroiled in such issues. So the president decided to do one thing, to say, well, I'm going to do what you have asked, because that's what Tim Mkhulu has asked, that he wanted to be relieved temporarily from the position of a minister of police so that he can deal with the allegations. So what we have is something that is strange and has been raised on whether the president has acted in terms of the constitution. It's the first time that you had a minister being put on the leave of absence, or while he's actually facing very serious allegations against him. Secondly, what the president did is to appoint somebody outside to be an acting minister. And the way the constitution is written is that the members of the executive, members of cabinet, and ministers, while they are not able to perform their duties, the president may appoint one of the members of cabinet to act. Now, this new innovation by the president is something that parties are already questioning. And the EFF has pointed out that he needs to read the constitution, and the constitution does not provide for an acting minister outside. Because what we're now having is a question of is Senzo Mkhulu still a minister? And if that be the case, that means you have one more minister or you have two ministers. And the question is, if he's not doing the work that he's supposed to be doing, why should he receive all the perks? So these are some of the things that the president will find himself having to answer quite um, correctly so, because they are good, they've already been raised. And it may be that the president may also have been misled, but we'll see how the legal process and the challenges in parliament are going to evolve around this issue.
Okay, we've got to go for an ad break, but I just want to leave you with two thoughts which you can respond after the break. Number one, perhaps the president is waiting to get the evidence from this commission of inquiry and then decide whether Mkhunu should be fired. Or whatever steps then needs is deemed necessary under the current circumstances. However, had this been a situation playing out in any other country, specifically Western countries, the minister would have been fired on the spot. And then also it begs the question, you brought up the Zondo Commission and a whole host of other commissions which were put in place, findings were presented to the president and the public, but we don't know what the results were, what sort of actions were taken against those different people, companies, persons, leaders, politicians, etc. So you kind of wonder, are we going to get any results from this current commission? But all of that and more after the ad break.
This is Salam Media.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day, or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, buckies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. It is exactly 8:20 a.m. and we are talking with political analyst Professor Seepe. And of course, we're talking about Ramaphosa having appointed a new acting police minister in light of the current investigation into the activities of Mkhwanazi. Welcome back, Professor Sipho. And, you know, as the saying goes, you've indicated that Mkhwanazi is close to Ramaphosa, and once again, it could be a situation of him being protected. We can't be too sure about it. The results might just surprise all of us. The results of the inquiry and the actions taken thereafter. But it is going to be a long wait for us as South Africans, will it not? And I guess it's also about the fish rots from the top and the rot goes very, very, very deep. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Going back to your question, there are a number of considerations that came probably or waiting on the president before he made this announcement. The first one is that, well, these are strong allegations. And for South Africans, given the gravity of the challenges that this country faces and the seriousness of these allegations, and the fact that it can be demonstrated that the Minister Mkhunu has somehow had some form of communication with unsavory characters. In any other country, he would have been dismissed, not as a way of saying you are guilty, but it would have been that you've uh, placed yourself in a situation that undermines the entire criminal justice system. We need to understand that with the level of crime that we have, you cannot have a minister who is implicated or who is seen to be consorting with people who have been implicated in criminal activity or who are under criminal investigation. So that is what would normally happen. But the president would have looked at the one political consideration. And I must say, even before that, you also have a minister who has perjured himself in parliament that when he was asked about one of the people who is of unsavory character, whether he or implicated to be unsavory, the minister said he does not know the person. And later, in another interview, he acknowledged knowing that this person is a comrade. So did not look good to many South Africans. And this is what led to two political parties, the DA as well as the MK party, going out to lay charges of perjury against the minister. So you already had enough for the president to work on. But the political consideration for the president was that yes, these are grave allegations, but they are still allegations. And secondly, this minister is one of my greatest supporters. And if I get rid of him, I must also understand that I may lose the support that he brings into the organization. But most importantly, the president also understands that when he himself was in hot waters, serious hot waters, when he was found to be having a case to answer around 84 charges that were put to the independent panel that looked at the Palapala scandal. He was found that in all of those, he had not acted in a manner that is consistent with the Constitution. Actually, the panel says the president is in serious violation of the section 96.2 A and B of the Constitution and the conflict of interest, and including the prevention and combating of corrupt activities. So the president himself The
Okay,
president
this.
himself faced serious allegations, and the party came to his rescue. They blocked it politically. The blocking was not that the report was flawed, it was simply to say we have to find a mechanism of protecting the president, and they did that. So if he acts on Kunu, on something that some people may consider to be less egregious than the violations, possible violations of the Constitution that a retired judge and a former Chief Justice have pointed out that the president had the case to answer, then it will be the president is being inconsistent, that we support you and then you throw us under the bus. So he's forever worried about the political considerations, whereas the Constitution requires the president to have approached this matter differently. And that different is, what does the Constitution say to you as a head of state because you took oath of office? So to that extent, many South Africans can be forgiven to say the president's announcement was disappointing and underwhelming. They expected the president to act in a manner that is consistent with the gravity of the allegations. Now, the second point that you had raised, which is also important, is that the president who's timid would like to be pushed there, and he wants to, instead of taking that decision, he wants to, how do you put it, outsource the responsibility of decision making to the Commission of Inquiry. So he, as you point out, that he'd rather wait until the Commission of Inquiry has come up with a definitive statement of whether the Minister Mkunu he has actually acted in a manner that is not befitting of his position. So instead of
Professor,
making the decision, yeah.
can I come in here and just make a few further comments, and then you can continue with your responses? When we talk about commissions of inquiry, obviously it comes at a cost, a huge cost. And once again, it's going to be placed on the taxpayers' heads to carry those costs, because obviously that money could be utilized very favorably in other areas. I mean, we have issues of a collapse of the health system, the education system, road infrastructure, everything. I mean, you and I know exactly what we're talking about here. And I think all of South Africa would be in total agreement with us. That money could be put to better use. So this could be a delaying tactic on the part of the president. And then he's not consistent. Our president is not consistent, because a few weeks ago he fired a DA deputy minister for making a trip abroad. Um, so when you look at that situation and compare it to the current situation that we're talking about, you kind of wonder, is this man applying his mind? Is he serving us consistently as a president? And when you look at the action of the deputy minister of the DA that was fired, that didn't even necessarily involve corruption or underhand tactics. It was about a trip that he had made abroad without permission, supposedly without permission from the president. And you kind of wonder, you take these two situations and you make a comparison, and it blows your mind. Back to you, Professor. Have I lost you there?
There's no doubt about there's no doubt about the issue that you're raising, that there's a clear element of inconsistency. But we should know that President Ramaphosa is, when you talk about him, you should think about the smoke and mirrors. When he fired the deputy minister who belongs to the DA, he was simply playing to the color. He wanted to be seen, to be decisive. But he also knew that he was going to get support from the ANC, and some of the ANC supporters will be saying this man is really in charge. But if you now look at the gravity of the allegations against Senzo Mkhunu, you would have expected that that should have been an easy decision. So the notion of inconsistency and political expediency is what defines President Ramaphosa. He avoids taking decisions unless if they work for him politically. If there is a threat at the level of politics, you can rest assured that he'll not take the decision that is expected of him. So those who accuse him of putting the interests of the party above and over those of the country are correct in that
Absolutely.
regard.
And we've run out of time. So much more to cover, but let's keep our eyes on this story. It is going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming days regarding this matter. Once again, thank you, Professor Seepe, for always joining us to unpack these issues regarding politics in South Africa. Stay safe and go well.
Thank you very
Just
much.
just before I let you go, something in the back of my mind. Just before I let you go, has Kunu not placed himself in the firing line? We've heard about political killings, and I'm kind of wondering if they're not going to be taking him out. Short answer. Pardon, not Nkunu, Mkwanazi. I think I've lost Professor there. We will then cover that in a future program. Thank you for being with us on this part of the program. It is
In the
8:31
end,
a.m.
his tenure and presidency is unsustainable. But also, the president will have to also explain himself in terms of getting somebody from outside that's acting. Oh no,
I do
Mkonazi,
apologize.
yes, his term is coming to an end, and I don't think he's bothered by that.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but that line has become so horribly unstable. We can't hear you, cracking up badly. We'll try and put this question to you in a future program. So you go well, and thank you once again for your time on the show this morning.